shame. It's the shadow we all know too well. The voice that says, "You're not enough. You're too broken. You don't belong." And yet, in the Gospels, every time shame tries to write the ending of someone's story, Jesus steps in. He doesn't just silence shame, he transforms it into salvation. In this journey, we're going to walk through the moments you don't always hear about in Sunday sermons. Stories of outcasts and outlaws, of the broken and the forgotten. People who wore shame like a heavy cloak until Jesus lifted it off their shoulders. Because their stories aren't just history, they are windows into our own. But first, let me ask you, what if the place of your deepest shame could become the place of your greatest encounter with God? 12 years. That's how long one woman had carried her shame. Not just the pain of her illness, but the isolation it forced on her. Everywhere she went, she was branded unclean, shut out of worship, shut out of family, shut out of life. But when she heard Jesus was passing by, something in her refused to stay hidden any longer. She pushed through the crowd, each step a risk. And then, reaching out, she touched the edge of his robe. In an instant, the bleeding stopped. But Jesus did not let her slip away unnoticed. He turned and asked, "Who touched me?" The crowd fell silent, and trembling, she confessed it was her. That's when he spoke the words she had waited 12 years to hear. "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Jesus didn't just heal her body. He gave her back her name, her dignity, her place in the family of God. Her shame became her salvation. And here's the question for us. Where are you tempted to stay silent, to hide in the crowd, when Jesus is ready to call you daughter or son again? In the next story, we meet a man who was despised in his city, laughed at for climbing a tree, and yet became the host of salvation itself. He was wealthy, but his wealth came with a cost. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, which meant his neighbors saw him as a traitor. He lined his pockets by serving the empire that oppressed them, and his name was spoken only with disgust. But when Jesus came to Jericho, Zacchaeus wanted to see him. The crowd blocked his way, mocking him for being too small, too unworthy. So he did something no respectable man would do. He ran ahead, and he climbed a tree, ridiculed, exposed, looking foolish. But he just wanted a glimpse of hope. And then Jesus stopped. He looked up, and in front of everyone, he said the words Zacchaeus never expected to hear. "Zacchaeus, come down. I must stay at your house today." The crowd muttered, how could Jesus eat with someone so corrupt? But that one invitation unraveled years of shame. Zacchaeus stood and declared, "I will repay what I have taken. I will give to the poor." Salvation had walked into his home. The man who was despised was chosen. The one labeled a thief became a host for grace. And here's the question for us. Where in your life do you feel too small, too stained, too far gone, when Jesus is ready to call you by name and sit at your table? But shame doesn't always look like greed or corruption. Sometimes it looks like someone abandoned to darkness, cut off from everyone, chained to their past. They had given up on him. Chains couldn't hold him. Clothes couldn't cover him. He lived among the tombs, a man exiled to the land of the dead. His cries echoed through the night, a reminder to everyone in town that some people are simply beyond saving. But when Jesus stepped off the boat, this man ran toward him. The demons inside screamed in fear, but the man himself, the man long buried under shame, fell at Jesus' feet. The crowd would have turned away. But Jesus didn't flinch. He spoke with authority, and the darkness fled. The demons that tormented him were cast out. And when the people came to see, they found him sitting at Jesus' feet, clothed, calm, and in his right mind. The man who once embodied shame became a living testimony of salvation. Jesus sent him home with a mission, Go and tell how much God has done for you. The rejected man became the first preacher in his region. The one chained in shame became a messenger of freedom. And here's the question for us. What part of your story do you think disqualifies you when Jesus may want to use it as the very testimony of his power? And that brings us to the cross itself, where shame was nailed up for all to see, and salvation was offered to a thief in his final breath. The cross was the symbol of shame, stripped, mocked, displayed for all to see. Crucifixion was meant not only to kill, but to humiliate. And on that hill, Jesus hung between two criminals, men condemned by their own choices. One joined in the insults, trying to drown his fear with scorn, but the other looked at Jesus and saw something different. Through the blood, through the agony, he saw a king. And with his last breath of courage, he whispered, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus, in the very moment of his own deepest shame, spoke salvation. Today, you will be with me in paradise. The cross that was meant to disgrace became the place where shame was forever broken. And the thief who had nothing left to offer became the first to walk through the gates of heaven with Christ. Shame did not write the ending. Salvation did. And here's the question for us. If grace could reach a dying thief in his final hour, what makes you think it cannot reach you here, right now? This is the message of the gospel, from shame to salvation, from rejection to restoration, from death to life. Everywhere Jesus went, he lifted the weight of shame and replaced it with the freedom of belonging. And he is still doing it today.